So if they do come up with the garages for the driving, I think that's going to be pretty awesome. But then the other thing that I want to see is I want to see a space station. Hello YouTubers, hello Starfield players, welcome back. Dreadis here. Well, it's another day in Starfield land, and I have a few things to talk about. One of them is what's happening with these updates. Yeah, so I guess when it comes to the ship and the overall gameplay in that, I think if we're going to end up getting vehicles, right, then that means that we are going to need to have a vehicle bay on our spaceships. Now, if we get a vehicle bay on our spaceships, then won't that mean that we'll have a new piece in our shipbuilding? So let's say we do end up getting a garage module that then hooks underneath the ship. And then out of that module, we're going to be able to drive a vehicle. So does that mean it's going to end up being like a double module in order to fit a whole vehicle inside of it? Because, or maybe not. Like if it's an ATV or, I don't know, something that's not a huge vehicle.
So Tim, we just talked to Joe and Eastfawn a little bit about Update 4 and what's coming, but is there anything else that you want to talk about that's down the horizon?
So the team is working on our first land vehicle, so you can drive around on planets. Obviously, we're working on more quests and the massive Shattered Space expansion.
But I hope we get some sort of drone. Maybe you have like a drone that you could go and get into and then fly out of the roof and then scooch across the landscape. I don't know. Those are two things I was thinking of. And then if they're going to go and do that, then are they going to end up giving us a whole bunch of different like attachment options? So one of the things is with the structural, right? You see how this one here, this is like a top and a rear or whatever, and then you can Z flip it, right? But then in order to have one that Z flips vertical, I have to try to find something else. Just the amount of choices that we have for parts, like at this Skeg A, if it had an attachment point here, it would be so much more useful, right? And you can see that for a lot of these pieces. And so I guess that's my main complaint when it comes to the shipbuilding, is that we don't have enough full direction pieces, right? Like if I could take this one here and turn it 90 degrees, right? The fact I can't turn this 90 degrees to go this way or be used on this side, but the other way, or even being able to use the pieces that we have but more effectively, right? That would be a better situation. So if they do come up with the garages for the driving, I think that's going to be pretty awesome. But then the other thing that I want to see is I want to see a space station. So then a space station, my question is, like, if we go and put a space station in, can we actually just like pick it anywhere randomly, or we'll have to pick a star, right? So let's say the one I have a base at. Here in the Narian system, there's two stations. We have the Stroud-Eklund Yard and we have the clinic. So I'm assuming that it would end up being something like this. Now these here, these show my actual bases, because I have outposts on these planets. Right? So you can see, like, I have an outpost there, outpost there, outpost there, there, right? And they're all feeding this moon, and that's where I get all my resources from. But if I was able to set up a space station somewhere around here, right? So let's say I did have a space station. One of the things that I really want is to have all my ships as separate ships. So what I mean by that is I could see why you can only have one spot to land your ship on the planet. But when it comes to space stations, you could have multiple locations in order to go and park your ships, I would think. So it'd be cool if all 10 of your ships, because that's the max you can have is 10. Oh, that was it. That was a solar panel. So yeah, the max you can have is like 10 ships. Whoa, sorry. And so let's say you have 10 ships. Wouldn't it be awesome if you could build a space station and then be able to go and have a different spot for all your ships, and then you could wander to each one and keep individual cargo in each different ship, right? I think that would be incredible. Because right now, one of the things I find interesting is that when I switch over to another ship, all my cargo has to switch over, and it can be a real pain. And I don't think it actually like makes it so you can't do it. I don't know, let's test it. Alright, so let's take a look at this. So I have 874 of 2160 on the UC prison shuttle. So this is the UC prison shuttle. It's slightly modified. So the UC prison shuttle only has 2160 in cargo, right? Now, if I go and I switch over to my other ship that has much larger amount of cargo, this one here, so I'll make it my home ship. And I'll just grab like a bunch of stuff here. It's true. Okay, so now I go and I put this into my cargo hold. Resources. Store all resources. Alright, so now I'm at 3380. So that's more than what my other ship was able to carry, right? So now what happens is you go like this and you go to your ship, right? You go make home ship. Now I did just make that my home ship, right? Okay, so now it's back, right? Got the artillery inside there. That should not have worked. Now if I go in here, right? There. 3380 of 2160. And it's grayed out. You see that? So, let's say I go to take off. Okay, now I go to take off. Doesn't stop me, right? So this is what tells me that something else is gonna come along and that this doesn't make sense.
Apogee complete. We're in orbit.
Check that out, eh? Woo! Right? Because as of right now, I went and I had a ship that had 12,000 cargo, right? I now go over here and I look and I have 3380 and my cargo is 2376, which means that the computer is not taking that number seriously. Which means that it's kind of like a placeholder for something big coming up. And that's why I think we're going to have space stations. Is because if you can only land one ship on the planet at a time, so you need somewhere that you can go and park all your ships, and then have all your ships at the space station, right? And then you go and you run over to the one that you want to take, and you take it down to the planet, or you do whatever you need to do. So I think a space station is meant for basically parking all your spaceships. And we're also going to get a vehicle bay or a garage that we have to mount on our ships. And when it comes to storyline, there seems to be plenty of storyline, especially if you go and you start doing New Game Plus and you're switching back and forth. I haven't gotten anywhere near through all the content. And that's why I think that it's going to end up being space stations and cars. Because that'll finally fill out the game. Because we'll have, you know, our apartments, the ships. You'll be able to build on the ships. You can decorate the ships. You can decorate the apartments or the places around the map. You build the space station. The space station lets you go and park all your ships. You can have 10 parking stations for all your ships on the space station, hopefully. And be able to go and harvest parts and build parts, stuff like that. I think it's going to be amazing once this game is, you know, fully built out. And then when they do the add-on and they start adding all the storylines and everything and the new characters and the outfits and the guns and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, Starfield's gonna turn out to be a pretty awesome game, I think. Alright, YouTubers, well, thanks for liking and subscribing. And come back for more Starfield information. Check this out. When I drop it, listen to the sound it makes. Maybe they'll add more sounds, right? Still sounds like dropping an empty milk jug.